Imagine you move from a place where you lived all your life. Imagine you move and you leave all your children and wife. Starting all over again, but no one you know is around. Well, they didn't have to imagine. They built it up from the ground. How does it sound? Not easy cause it isn't. Could have phased them, but it didn't. But the raid bond, that's a winner. And they ran straight to the finish. You get to know them up close and personal. Wait, just give me a minute. Welcome to the front row. Can I get a drum roll? Intentional. We may be immigrants, but we are still intentional. We are dependable. It's just that set the bar, but still the best of all. We are intentional.
Welcome to the Intentional Immigrants podcast. I'm happy that you're able to join us here today. My name is Yolanda Jack. Today, Sania Dookie, a registered social worker, and I will look at strategies that parents and caregivers can use to ensure that immigrant children, that is, children who are relocating to another country, are able to make a smoother transition. We know that the process is difficult. There is excitement, there is some amount of confusion as well, and there is some amount of fear and grief. Sania will be looking at strategies or some tools that can be used to ensure that the children integrate properly in the new environment. Let's have a listen as Sania tells us more. Feel free to click on the links below as more information is provided in the description. Regarding the website, yes, I know you've been asking and you're wondering, when is it going to come? When are we going to see it? This is not the emperor's new clothes, so we will be seeing the website in a little bit. Still working on it, it's still taking a long time, but hopefully in another 2 weeks at least, I'll have something up and running. All right. And of course, let me have your feedback on it. What works, what doesn't work, what do you think about it, what I can improve on it. Yeah, let me know what you think about the website. And the name of it is www.intentionalimmigrants.com. That's the name of the website. Hi, Sania. Welcome to the Intentional Immigrants podcast. I'm happy that you're able to join me here this evening.
Hi, Yolanda. So happy to be back with you guys another week.
Yes.
Looking forward to sharing.
Okay, thank you. This evening, we're going to continue on our discussion about grieving children, grieving immigrant children, or children who are immigrants who are resettling, trying to reestablish themselves, that loss of identity. Tell us some tips, especially for parents, as to how we can help our children in making a smoother transition, because we know it will never be easy. Leaving one place to go to another to settle down will never be easy. But at least if we are able to use some tools and strategies that will help our children, then that would be well worth it.
Yes, for sure. So in the last session, we talked about grief as a normal process that can happen when we move from one country or place to the next. And as I mentioned before, that there are different situations why we would move. In some cases, too, for some individuals, it's due to something traumatic or crisis which happened. And so at the get-go, I would encourage parents, if that's the case for you yourself and your family, you try to get your child right away into therapy. Because whether they're displaying traumatic symptoms or not, we want to give them that space to be able to talk about or to process anything in which they encountered or experienced in their transition or the reason for their transition. So if it wasn't a crisis situation or a traumatic situation, and it was just a normal transitioning from one end of the rainbow to the next, there are two types of grief. We have the physical loss loss of materials or whatever it is that we had before, possessions. And then we also have symbolic loss, the symbolism of what my home country meant to me, just being there with family, community, and all that stuff, just the value system. So those are two different types of losses that we got to look into. And so when you're helping your children, first thing you want to notice, well, you want to know that the grieving process is normal. It's normal. And we do have different stages that we generally go through when we're experiencing grief. We're talking about numbness, like seem a little bit more detached emotionally from the situation, from the loss itself, or from the transition itself. Not really getting anything out. Like some parents will say, oh, I talked to her and I'm just not getting anything, but I can see where he or she's down. And sometimes because of that emotional detachment, it's so hard to feel, or not being able to connect with the loss yet, or maybe a little bit of denial or so forth. That's normal. And then we move on to yearning and searching and trying to find meaning in what happened and how we can, this is where maybe you get talking about it, maybe feeling, expressing anger or resentment, if that's the case. Because some people are really happy. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I've immigrated and this is awesome. And then we also have disorganization. That's where your child will, you'll see it coming out in terms of their social interaction. It could be them acting out or trying to please everybody, so they may get in trouble with their peers or get in trouble in the classroom. You may also be seeing it in their academics. For some kids, their academics can be impacted in a negative way. They're not doing as well as they used to do anymore, don't seem to really care about their schooling, whether they're doing well, and may not even want to get up to go to school, things like those. And so those can be natural part of grieving. And when we're seeing those as parents, it's just being open towards our children and talking with them in a gentle, nurturing way, because the moment we start to reprimand and be harsh at them, we're pushing them away even further, and they're going to be isolating from us even more.
Okay.
So
I have two questions.
Yes.
Is there a particular length of time for the grieving process?
You know what? When it comes to grief, you can't really give grief a timeline.
So we can't tell them 3 months and snap out of it?
No, nope. Let's underline that. Please do not give your children or any other member of your family a timeline in which you should get over your loss or your transition. For some people, it takes years. For some people, they don't even get closure until maybe they would revisit the country, their home. They went back and they're like, okay, now I can close that chapter and come back home. So grieving looks different for everybody. One thing to look out for is when it's reaching into a long-term despair and impacting one's function, cognitive functioning, and other daily activities. That's when we know it has become more complicated and there needs to be some form of professional help.
So what has it morphed into at that point?
Pardon me?
What has it morphed into at that point?
Depression, anxiety, yeah. That's when you know for sure. Grief symptoms can look similar to depression because you're feeling down and sad and in despair. But if that's over a long period of time and it's starting to get into the other aspects of your life, like you're taking a very long time to do other things, like compartmentalize. So the last stage of grief is organizing yourself or restructuring your life again. So accepting whatever I lost, it's not there anymore. Now, how can I adapt to and build a new reality in my life? So that's organization. And if we find that we're not there yet, and it's the individual is getting worse or just not moving at all in terms of improving in the symptoms they're having, then we definitely need to have them connect with their counselor, a children counselor, or and get them that help. I think the family, maybe family therapy, I would recommend having family therapy as well. And so some tips and strategies that you can help your children with, that's just the extreme end. So we know, go to a therapist. Don't try to solve it yourself unless you're a therapist and you know what to do. But either way, get help. So what you can start helping your child to do is, when it comes to grief, some people are tangible grievers. So some people are criers and some people are cognitive grievers. So cognitive, we're talking about the individual who would do all the planning for the funeral, and they would do all the fundraiser and plant a tree and build a fence in the honor of, right? For children, you can do the same too. You can, they can start, they could plant a tree in honor of their home, something to remind them of home, their legacy, what is there. They can start participating in multicultural events in their community, because it helps them to be a part of their community, wherever they're from, and also tap into the symbolism of what their culture look like. And so it helps with all of that processing. They can share their song, their music, their food, their language with other cultures, and they don't necessarily lose their identity, but they are expressing their identity in another place where they can share it now even more. So they're more proud and they're more centered in who they are. So those are things that you can start doing. For younger children, it's simple things like, journaling. If you find that they're having a hard time processing, could be journaling, writing a story, or drawing. We have drawing journaling, drawing pictures of how they're feeling. Let them draw pictures of home. Don't let them avoid talking about home because it's sad. No, they need to talk about it, because as they talk about it, it's almost like you're putting pieces of puzzles together and helping to create a balanced picture for them. So don't avoid talking about it. Help them to do their journaling, their drawing of pictures or paintings of precious memories that they have from back home. If they can reconnect with anyone at home, let them reconnect as much as possible. And also help them to make friends here, because you don't want them to be stuck back in the past. Help them to transition into making new friends here. And a big part of that is encouraging them to be proud of where they're from, and to be proud of sharing that aspect of themselves with their friends, who are usually very curious, based on my experience. And you probably experienced that too. People are always asking about our home, our language, our food, and all that stuff. And for children, it brings a certain level of pride. So those are things that you can help them with. Other things as it relates to if they're having distressing symptoms is spend a lot of time together as a family, because I know when we transition, everybody's busy trying to make life and all that stuff. And your children need you as a unit more than ever, because they may not have the auntie and the uncle and grandma or whoever they used to have before. So try and, as best as possible as a family, to spend time together. Make it a point to do that, and to explore your surrounding together, your new home together. When you do that, you're making new memories, new precious positive memories. And one thing I'll let you know that studies have shown that individuals who may have experienced traumatic events and so forth, when they are helped in experiencing other positive experiences and so forth with individuals who they feel secure and safe with, it really helps them through that tough time, to process that tough time or the trauma, or in this case, it may not necessarily be a trauma, but it is hard. So when they're experiencing positive things with the people they care about and feel safe and secure around, that grieving process is going to be cut in half.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, home is where the heart is. And if their heart is with you and your heart is with them and they feel that connection, it doesn't matter where they are in the world, they will, as long as they're with you, they're going to be happy. Other thing too is you want to encourage them to continue to be active, as I mentioned before, be a part of activities, live a healthy lifestyle, because if you're having symptoms and you're not helping your body to regulate, so symptoms are when you're feeling unsafe, insecure, worried, sad, it really activates your chemicals, your stress chemicals in your body. And so that makes you feel imbalanced. And so what you want to help your child to do is regulate themselves. So things like helping them to practice their daily deep breathing, prayer, their meditation, going for walks or runs, bike rides, doing crazy dances if they need to. Those are all regulating to their brainstem, and that helps to release those feel-good hormones or those feel-good chemicals in the brain. And that helps them to be more tolerant to stress when it comes by, or helps to decrease the amount of stress that they would encounter from maybe painful memories and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty much those are some things. Be creative. The trick is just help your child to be regulated, attune to your child, help your child to be connected with others in their community, connected with friends, connected with their cultural identity as well. And that really, really will help so much. It will work wonders.
Yeah. So have a social network, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
My other question to you is for teenagers, because from my experience, one of my daughters came here when she was 6, the other came at 10. And their experiences, 2 different experiences. The younger one had an easier time transitioning than the older one. And what you found is that the older one it was very difficult for her. And she didn't, even after we made our first trip, because we came 2013, we went back home 2015. And she was able to, yes, she saw that her family was okay. She was able to connect with people. But I find that the older they are, the harder it is to adjust to everything. What's your take?
Yes, I agree with you. Younger children, they're more free flowing. They make friends much easier. They're very flexible. And even though, yes, they may have a best friend or so, but they easily find a best friend when in their new place. For older children, yes, it may be harder, because that means they are probably leaving more people they were connected with.
Yes.
And they have somehow developed a sense of self in their community. So for younger children, it's me and my parents, my circle. That's my circle. But then as they get older, for school-age children, it's no longer just about me and my parents. It's more of me, my friends, and also my parents. Or me outside and also, friends. And also my parents. And so they will definitely feel the impact much more. And that's why at this point, I believe, you definitely want to spend more time talking to that child, your older child, and helping them through that tough time. If they need to cry, you cry. They allow them to cry. If they need to connect with their friends back home, whether it be through writing letters, just talking about school-age children, for teens, writing letters. But write letters, share pictures, things like those. Allow them to do that. But of course, I would definitely encourage parents of older children to get your child to find a new social network, to find a new environment. And that's why I stress this, because when we're in a new country, we're usually busy. We're trying to make a life, right?
Yeah.
But when we take that time to attune and connect with that teen and help them, because sometimes the temperament of the child may be different from another child. It could be more reserved, more introverted.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And it's harder to go out and make friends.
Yeah.
And so maybe they need a little bit more guidance, holding by the hand and helping along. Even if they're older, doesn't matter. They may need a little bit more support from their parents in finding new friends or finding an activity that they really connect with and really like. Yeah. And of course, if you can let them visit back home, their home of origin, as often as possible.
As soon as you can, yeah.
Yeah, I'd recommend that you do so they don't feel like they have lost all of that connection and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we discussed grief. We discussed some strategies that we can use. I was going to mention that one of the things that is low cost or no cost is visiting the library. You can always take your children to the library so that they can be able to read. There are also some activities that are held at the library for the summertime so that children can get involved in those things. So I find that was very helpful for us. We just went to the library, we borrowed books, because of course you can't own all the books you will ever read.
Right.
That's a low cost or cost-effective ways for you to get your reading in and get your children, to read some more and to meet friends, because they also meet friends at the library as well.
Yes, you're right. Some areas, depending on where you are, they usually do have library activities. And some like YMCA or so, they may actually have funding that would allow your child to be a part of some activities, swimming or any other sports activities that your child may be interested in. So research that, look at sports for kids in your community, type that in Google and look through. There's usually grants. I know in North America, I'm not sure, or in Canada, I'm not sure where else, but there's usually grants. People are sponsoring if we can afford it right away. When you're starting out, it can be a little bit hard. But make the effort to do that, because that is therapeutic in itself. When they meet friends, invite the friends to come over to your home, or connect with the parents and have play dates or things like that for younger children. For teens, yes, try to see. I know for teens we always say, oh, they're in their own world, they don't really need us anymore, but that's the time they actually do need us more than ever. So play games together, find out what they like and do it too. If they like to play video games, and even if you're not a big fan of it, but get into their world. Get into their world. Whether you like video games or not, it's not about you. It's about them. Okay. And when you connect with them and you get into, and they see that, their attunement or their connection with you will be much deeper. They trust you. They come to you with their issues, their concerns. They don't go outside and try to depend on other peers who are still trying to figure out their life. So do that. Get into your teen's world. Even when they're 18 years old, still do that. Take the time, go for walks with them, or I'm not sure what you guys would love to do, but always be in your child's world. It doesn't matter what age they are. And those are the things that will definitely help to buffer teens from mental health issues, right? So we haven't even touched on that yet, but those are the preventative factors, things that we can do to prevent, mental health or emotional issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Sania, thank you, as usual, for taking time and coming on and giving us some tips or empowering us so that we can help our children and we in turn can empower our children so that they can make a smoother transition to the new country. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and whoever is listening, all the best in your journey, and keep your image and be strong.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to the following persons and websites who made this podcast possible. Sania Dookie of Dookie's Psychological Services. Xavier Anderson for providing music. The Intentional Immigrants podcast can be listened to on Google Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and Podbean. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, I'm your host, Yolanda Jack, reminding you, he who watches the wind will not sow, he who watches the clouds will not reap. Ecclesiastes 11, verse 4. You were born for greatness. Step out into your greatness intentionally so that others may benefit from you being here. Remember, the only life worth living is the intentional life. So long, until next time.
Intentional. We may be immigrants, but we are still intentional. We are dependable. It's just that simple.